Today's the day that I'm going to work like Joan Didion. I'm throwing a little party tonight, which is kind of counterintuitive to her. She does a lot of like solitary writing, but she does drink and like spend time with her pages and like sleep with her book. So I have some pages, like handwritten ones, that I guess I could sleep with. I might take a breather before the party and have like a drink to myself and sit with some stuff that I've been working on. I took a yoga class this morning and I was just like thinking, and I think I had some like mental progress around some of the stuff I've been stuck on. This is awful lighting, isn't it? Hi guys, it's 2 a.m. I'm in my bedroom again. We had a successful party. I went to this bar by myself because I said I would do a salon there. Albeit I planned it really last minute and like buried it in the bottom of a post. But I kind of like that. I like having a lack of foresight with a lot of stuff, because to me hot literati is ultimately something that was just like birthed in my bedroom. It's like me writing my most intimate thoughts, which every writer, every good writer does. They share like the things that are the most intimate to them. And even in my short, like my few pages with Diddy, and I realize she's so inspired by like honesty and by the people she meets in the world. And I said I would be at this like random bar at 1 to 1:30, so I did it. I committed because I put it in a newsletter. And I met really interesting people, and I think I'm gonna write about them. Because that's, I don't know, I feel like, I know I've read very little Didion, and I've only read like Goodbye to All That and then a brief stint of like biographical stuff, but I feel like so much of that is like in so many people's work. Like you live in the world and then you write about it, and I feel like she was super honest about that, so that's, it makes me have more reverence for blog almost. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna write and then I'm gonna go to bed. Like stop. So beautiful. I'm eating dinner, having like peas. I've had a fixation on peas for a few years now, ever since I was 20. And the university would only give us like certain vegetables because it was like a strange pandemic here and we weren't allowed to be like in groups in certain buildings. We would like take these meals home and they would have like the same 4 vegetables. And I remember going to the university store, like passing Blair Arch, getting a bag of peas, steaming it at home, and putting like salt and pepper and butter in the bag and being like, this is the greatest thing I've ever had. And ever since then, I've had this like crazy fixation on peas. I know a couple videos ago I was talking about how I felt really weird and like black and white thinky and strange about food, but now I wonder how much of it is like the same sort of like mindset that guides your like artistic drive. Because I've talked to some similar people who are also like that, and then you read like creative routines, and yeah, they're like, anything is bound to the bias of a retrospective narrative. But there are a lot of artists who eat the same thing every day. And, you know, like Martha Graham had whatever. Joan Didion, I'm learning, like, enjoyed drinking. She enjoyed walks. I need to figure out what she ate. But maybe I just like peas. And I really like crackers. Maybe it's my English side. Okay, I'm reading a little bit more about her like diet and persona. I found this article in the LA Review of Books that talks about how her persona was like frail, like cool, like reclaimed car culture for women, gave them agency, but also would eat like a single almond and a Diet Coke and cucumber. So I'm not gonna do that. It also talks about her thinness. I'm on it. Honestly, this is causing like, I'm thinking about the way we canonize women, female artists, and like, I wonder if there's a correlation of like the rise of mass media and the prioritization of like thin female artists. Because you think back to like the 20s, like, I don't know, I feel like there's probably a correlation of like thinness as a beauty standard, the rise of like accessibility to photos and stuff, and only thin women getting visibility. Because I don't know, like the song, like Video Killed the Radio Star, when you add more layers of like stimuli and persona building to a person, they have like more to live up to, and it becomes really strange in that way. It's like kind of sad to think about, but it's interesting. This is the last thing I'll say for now. I was watching this video that it was like in memoriam of her and her legacy, and it was talking about how she was like, it's life was her art, like life was her inspiration. And this LA Review Books article talks about how she was content to just observe. Sometimes I'll get really into the idea of like wu wei. I know it's so like buzzwordy for YouTube, but it's this idea that you just go with the flow. Like you don't actually have to control anything. You're there. You're like a witness to the universe and to life. And I like thinking like that. I find it really like reassuring, especially in times that should be stressful. It seems like she kind of wrote from that sort of a place. Another writer I was talking to today talked about how her writing is quite cold, and I think when you're like non-reactive to things, you can get perceived as cold. I feel that way, especially as a woman of color. I think people are a little bit quicker to perceive you in that way. It happened to my mom a lot growing up. Now I'd imagine it's happening to me in like certain environments. But yeah, I guess this week I'm also just gonna like let go but like be outside and like be in the world. I have 3 dates. I have one tonight after book club. I have one tomorrow. I have one Friday. Friday I'm gonna do some stuff by myself throughout the evening though before my date, because I need time to write and I need time to sit down and have a drink and look at what I've written like Miss Didion did. Hi. It's the weekend. It's Saturday morning, afternoon. It's fully like 1 p.m. I hate that we call it bed rot, because I think there's something so glorious about mornings to yourself. And I love like silk. I love satin. I love laying in bed with coffee and reading. And I love like that type of decadence. Waking up alone. And I was listening to some records this morning. I was listening to this. This is my grandmother's favorite record. It's a Breakfast at Tiffany's one that she gave me for Christmas. Um, this was like hers, obviously. Um, and then I've been having a lot of conversations generally about Didion, about people's relationship to Didion, opinion on her work. And this other writer that I was talking to said that they found her like quite cold. And then my roommate, who I was just talking to, said that she also struggled to connect with her work. For most of my life, I've been the type of person who's been like super open with people, and I've written about this a lot. Also, like a bit people pleasy, and I think I've finally overcame that last year. So I think the art of being like distant is something I'm new to, but also like kind of enjoying. Um, and Another writer that I was talking to also said that they found her work like quite name droppy, and even in the Year of Magical Thinking. I realized she's doing that. She's like, "Oh, I went to like this place. We went to this place. We like met this person," and I kind of love it. And I think it has this weird transcription in the era of social media where like everyone's doing it, and you can like tag people too, and there's just like so much. So in the spirit of Joan Didion, I'm going to be name dropping everyone in this video. Everyone's getting a cameo. And then she would also drink and write, and she would like wander around uptown. She would eat something crazy like one almond and a Diet Coke. And one thing I definitely touched on in the Martha Graham video is that obviously with the stuff I did growing up, like history of problems. So I'm not going to be doing that. But I will be drinking and writing while working on today's newsletter, which I'm going to do shortly. I'm also going to go uptown to have a drink with someone. So I'll be in the 70s, which she was uptown. And then I'm going to be just outside. I've been outside all week. I had 5 dates this week. And I think one thing we can take from like Didion, and honestly, just I was having this conversation on one of my dates about like art and contemporary society now, like even with the MFA-ification of writing, I think we've created this world where we feel like we have to sit down in our rooms perpetually to be working on stuff. But what I'm always trying to remind myself is you have to have stuff to write about. You have to have like a life that you're inspired by, that you want to create art about. You have to have friends that inspire you that you want to write about. Like, art is not made in a vacuum. You have to be outside to make art. And I think that Didion is a great example of that, especially in comparison to like Martha Graham from the last video, who's just about her craft. But like I was saying in that video, her craft is so embodied. Like, writing is so different than dance. In dance, you have the inspiration in front of you and it's like a body. I don't know about other writers, but I've never been inspired by a blank sheet of paper. I have to have experiences to pull from. So I'm gonna do some more like I need to clean my room, pop to a restaurant, and drink and write. I just got a text telling me I should start a podcast. Honey, where have you been? We have one. The name dropping starts now because what I'm going to be listening to is this record by Marotes. This is Mike, Marotes Mike, a friend of mine who I met when I was Miss Teen USA. He was working at Miss Universe at the time, and I thought he was the coolest person ever. Like, you know, those people that just have like a vibe and you have like a platonic crush on them because you're like, this person is so cool. That's how I felt. And every time I'd like go to the Miss Universe office, I was 17. I was like so eager to please and I wanted everyone to like me, but you also have to be like perfect. So I was like, oh, I'm not allowed to like curse. I'm not allowed to do anything. But Mike was so cool. And then I remember a couple years after I'd given up the crown, he said something about my taste in music. He like liked my taste in music, and I was like, oh my gosh, like thank you. And now I love Mike's music. It's like tech, electronic housey, very like goth. And he does like very cool visuals with it. I went to a show he had last year that was so good. So I'm gonna be putting this record on while I do housekeeping. While cleaning my room, I found this lit mag that I'm not really like in the scene like that, but I have it because this older director I went out with for like 2 seconds brought it to me because, you know, I was a writer. I found some notes from the short story collection I'm working on that I think I'm going to put out soon, and then played a little guitar, wrote, had a G&T, read this manuscript by my writing mentor, I need someone to publish this, and had a full evening, got home at like 3 or 4. I had an evening, like a really delightful one. Yeah, I met up with a friend of mine at this party at this gallery. I met up with one of my best friends and my publicist, Sean, and we like just chatted. Ended up meeting like someone. Now I have a date next Friday. I am still like, my heart and soul is still at that bar in the 70s because of the woman that I met. I can't stop thinking about her. She's quite older, doesn't look it, was a muse of Salvador Dali's. And she she looked at me. She has like stories. Like, I was taking notes. I was literally writing stuff down because she was just like the most beautiful person and had these like crazy stories. So I'm like, I don't know, it was delightful. She kept looking at me and being like, you're beautiful. And I was like, oh, like, thank you. And she kept calling me like Halle Berry. It was so flattering, but she was telling me like, you have the look, like do like showbiz, like model, act, you have the look and you just have to get like the right charm and da-da. And I my whole life I've like obviously been around like modeling and like just entertainment in general. Obviously I did ballet and stuff, but right before I won Miss Teen USA, I was about to sign with, I don't even know if my parents would remember this, I was about to sign with this modeling agency based in Oklahoma. It was quite thin, definitely had like anorexia, and then I won Teen USA, so I obviously was not signing with like a random agency anymore because I was then under like IMG for a year. And I think my whole life I've really struggled with like, I wrote about this in a piece called like Reflections on Pageants After 6 years. I've really struggled with the feeling of needing to be quote unquote perfect before I like put myself up for things. Like transience is something that really scares me, and the feeling of not being prepared for something. especially when the thing that's being consumed is like myself in some way. It even stresses me out with the internet, like thinking of different iterations that exist of me online. But I think I've been toying with the idea of like resubmitting to an agency for a little bit, but then when I was home, I talked about this a lot in the Graham video. I think like my grandmother said something about my body, and I was like, what do I look like? I don't know anymore, because I think dysmorphia to me is one of the scariest things, and someone's perception of you interrupting like your self-concept. But I think I'm gonna take some little digitals and submit to a couple agencies today, because why not? I feel like Didion's philosophy, and also like the woman I met, I was writing about this yesterday too. It all goes to like push this point of like, you have to have stuff to write about. Like, life comes before art. You have to live a life before you can make art about it. And I feel in my life right now like tremendously grateful, but also a little stagnant. And I think I'm ready for like new experiences, whatever that may be. And Miss Ma'am I met, who, and I quote, said goodbye to her mother at 17 to go to Woodstock and never came back. Like, she was delightful. I think she has inspired me, so I'm gonna do that. And then I have hot literati meetings all day with our new interns. Okay guys, I have so much stuff to do, so I'm gonna wrap this up here. Takeaways from Didion week. Be outside, meet people. You'll meet crazy people, you'll meet really cool people, yes, in like big cities, but I think also just be in the world, go outside, write about, like, I think one thing I'm noticing with Didion is she's so honest about like not emotions but more like matter of fact things, and she like has distance and feels more like a documentarian rather than someone who's like really like entertaining themselves, I guess. So that's, I'm so sorry, I'm like so sweaty, I just got back from Iran. So that's, yeah, like, be in the world, say yes to things, meet people, like genuinely be interested in people, because they open up in really beautiful ways when you are. And yeah, could I do it? Reflected in my own writing, I wrote a ton on the blog and on our Substack. I'm probably gonna write one more post today. But I found it really hard to get into like a fictional state of mind, because everything I felt so in the world, which is good. But when I'm like really prolific with fiction, I have to be in my own world. So I don't know, maybe it's time to try like Morrison. I know that was a request, and we're doing Beloved for book club, so that might make sense. Yeah. Okay, I need to shower. Thanks for joining, and yeah.